Beta testing is underway, and Mythic Plus was actually pushed out this week, so players have been able to actually go into Mythic Plus and test out some of their favorite specs. Some are performing very well, some are still struggling with some bugs, but overall the testing has been good. Now in this video, I want to specifically focus on Brewmaster, Master of Harmony hero talent tree, and talk about everything that I have been enjoying about it, as well as bugs that I have found, and just talk about the spec and sub-spec in its entirety. So you'll see me here jumping around Borealis from time to time. I'll also be doing overlays of clips. This video is, for the most part, YOLO'd. I have written up scripts, but man, I'm a horrible writer. So let's just jump into it. So I want to mostly talk about a couple of things. First, I want to talk about the general premise of the Master Harmony tree. I'm assuming you know most of what's going on with the class, the rework, as well as the new hero talents. If you haven't, I will link a video on screen down in the description. I've already talked about these in previous videos, from the general rework of the class, the spec. I've also talked about both of the sub-specs, the hero talents, in videos as well. Also, quick disclaimer, this is beta testing. It's very early in beta as well, so there are a lot of opportunities for Blizzard to tune numbers, to buff, nerf things, and to totally rework things if needed, as we've already been seeing through things like Shado-pan and some other specs as well. Anyways, the whole premise of Master of Harmony is to turn your Celestial Brew into a damage buff, into a cooldown, which is very, very cool. How you accumulate that is by doing damage and healing yourself. So when you do 20% of your damage is stored over time, and 10% of your effective healing. Once you cast Celestial Brew, you're going to take that buff, that stored vitality, and you're going to expel it onto your enemies. Now this is going to basically amplify all of your abilities by 25%. It'll draw from that buff and deal 25% extra damage as nature over 8 seconds. Now there's also other talents in the tree that if you don't happen to expel all of your, vitality, it'll then explode, dealing damage over 8 seconds. Looking at the capstone, for example, too, you have a chance to amplify the damage that they take from you, from not only your stored vitality, but when they have the debuff, you're also doing more damage as well. So this makes for a very interesting playstyle. Now there's a lot of other things in this tree that I'm going to talk about as we go, but generally speaking, this class feels very, very good, or I should say this hero talent. The big thing that changes is it's really focusing on your magic and the difference between your magical and physical damage. So this is a lot of synergy with our chi proficiency and our martial instincts in our class tree. So we're going to be doing increased magical damage, increased physical damage, and there's also a talent called Balanced Stratagem. Now, every time you cast a physical spell, it's going to increase the damage of your next fire or nature spell by 5%, and vice versa. So your magical damaging abilities will, in essence, amplify your physical abilities. There's not really anything you need to track here. Now, if you're really trying to min-max the damage, of course, you will cast a certain sequence of spells to amplify your next hit. But generally speaking, you're going to be getting to 5 stacks or getting to 3 stacks and then using a different spell. You generally weave in between nature abilities as well as physical. So for example, if I throw a Keg Smash, you're actually going to see this go up to 2, which is a current bug if I'm not mistaken. So it is a physical spell, so it's increasing the next nature, or I guess elemental damage that we're going to be dealing. But the problem is that it's when I cast Keg Smash, I gain a stack, and when it hits the target, I gain a stack. So I believe this is a bug. I did want to talk about it just in case, because basically your nature damage spells, or I guess also elemental magic spells, are dealing more damage, just generally, because you're gaining extra stacks. So this is a bug. Is it a massive damage increase? No. Not in the slightest, but it is something to note. Something else that's actually dealing less damage, though, is Overwhelming Force. So this is supposed to deal 15% additional damage to every mob in front of you based on your single target spells. So Blackout Kick, Rising Sun Kick, and Tiger Palm. But if we look here, let me reset my data really quick, and I hit this mob with a Rising Sun Kick, you're now going to notice that this hit for 217k. This hit twice. It hit the primary target as well as a subsequent target behind the mob for 22k. So it doesn't take a crazy mathematician to understand that 22k is about 10.5% of the Rising Sun Kick's damage. So it's dealing about 33% less damage than it should be doing. So this is a bug that's causing us to deal less damage. It's going to end up resulting in about a 1.5% damage loss in its current state. So not a big deal. And it looks like I also DC'd because none of my abilities are going off. Okay, cool. All right, let's log back in. All right, technical difficulties aside, let's continue what we were kind of talking about here. So overall, overwhelming force generally in a key is about 3% of my damage. Now this is obviously going to be a little bit higher if this is dealing like 30% less damage. It should be closer to 4.5%. What I really like about this ability by itself is it pretty much completely removes the use or the need to use spinning crane kick, which is really nice. It basically allows us to, instead of trying to figure out and prioritize, do I cleave, like do I spinning crane kick here for AoE, or do I cast Tiger Palm for priority damage? Basically, it's turning our priority damage into our cleave, so we can do one in the same, basically at all times, which makes a nice little pairing with things like Facepalm, allowing us to do a ton of priority damage and single target for both Fortified and Tyrannical weeks. So overall, this is a pretty cool playstyle using Overwhelming Force. Now, something else that's really interesting is because of the magical damage increase from Balanced Stratagem, is we also have this manifestation talent which increases Chi Burst and Chi Wave damage. Now, if played properly, you can get a very, very juicy Chi Burst. So I'm going to try to compare two spells for you. So I'm going to first just ramp this up to 5 stacks, which we do here. We can see now I have 5 stacks of Balanced Stratagem. If I cast Chi Burst and it hits these 4 targets, you can see that this just did a ton of damage. For some reason, it only hit 2 targets, but let me try this again. Now here, the DPS won't be important because we're looking at just like the raw number value, but you can see here I'm at 5 stacks. Let's cast our Chi Burst, and you can see here that it just did 1.7 million damage, which is a lot. Now, if I compare that to example, let's get another 5 stack here again, and I'm going to cast Exploding Keg. And you're going to see here that Exploding Keg actually did just about the same damage here. Crits, obviously it's slightly crit dependent, but you're going to see that pretty much they're doing equal damage, but you're going to be casting Chi Burst, just as often, or actually twice as often. So if you're really trying to min-max, you can try to maximize your Balanced Stratagem stacks to get this magical damage amplification out, and you're going to notice a massive, massive increase in Chi Burst damage. So it's a very cool playstyle, focusing a lot more damage into like nature and fire spells than relying on, physical spells like Keg Smash. You're going to notice that a lot when I talk about Shado-pan. Very, very cool. Now for the rest of the actual spec, I think it feels really good to play. Now, there's obviously clunkiness with Chi Burst being a cast. During this, casting Chi Burst does not prevent avoiding attacks. You can actually read that in the tooltip of the ability. This is problematic for Brewmasters in a couple of ways. In lower keys, it shouldn't really matter that much. And of course, it won't really matter in Raid. But you have to be very specific about how you use Chi Burst. I would assume, with the way that your capstone works, as well as just like the aspect of harmony buff in general, you're probably going to end up opening with Chi Burst. So as you're running up to a pack, and maybe I'll show a video of this in a key, you're going to actually cast Chi Burst to roll in and then start pulling. So you're going to get a good bit of burst damage right off the bat, which is kind of, is convenience. But another thing that's interesting about this is I'm running Path of Resurgence. Now, originally this was bugged and it had infinite uptime, but they finally fixed it. So Chi Burst increases your vitality stored by 25% for 10 seconds. So you use this on the opener, and now for the first 10 seconds, you're going to accumulate 25% more stored vitality. So that means after 10 seconds, you pop Celestial Brew, and you're going to do a ton more damage than you originally would if you weren't casting Chi Burst. Now, I know your probably next question is, does it work with Chi Wave? Yes, it does, but it's only for half the time. And in this case, you would have to roll in, and because Chi Wave is now baked into your Rising Sun Kick, you have to roll in and then Rising Sun Kick to get that damage, which feels a little weird in single target. Now, of course, it doesn't matter as much because we have Overwhelming Force, but generally speaking, I found that Chi Burst is doing way more damage, and what's kind of cool is that it does actually a fair bit of group healing. It's not a lot. It's not like being able to Word of Glory or Dream of Cenarius people, but it can do a little bit of group healing, especially when the group is low and with the increased, to health pools. So generally speaking, it's just, I prefer the Chi Burst, but you have to be sneaky with it. Now, if you're already in combat, let's say you Chi Bursted on a pack before, and you're, mid pack here, and you're fighting for, a couple seconds, and now you want to Chi Burst, you can either leg sweep, you can stun them for a couple seconds, which will give you plenty of time. Chi Burst is less than a 10-second, or less than a second cast, it's 0.98 seconds, or you can roll away into a Chi Burst like this, which is also fine. You can also drop a Ring of Peace to do it. You have to be a little bit more creative about how you're going to get this damage out, but it's definitely worth doing, as you can see here. I can admit that this could make for an a very fun playstyle, but also a fairly annoying playstyle. So it's really how you see it. I do like the Master of Harmony build more. I've only done up to like +4s. I've attempted 1 +5, but people left after like 1. They died once in a poll and they left. So I'm not going to pretend that I'm doing like the highest keys on beta, but generally speaking, even up to the 4 range, I think Chi Burst feels very good for some of this group healing that's required. It's good for burst damage, and it just makes for an interesting playstyle. So the main thing I want to talk about here is our stored vitality, because I've already talked about this a little bit. So stored vitality currently is going up to, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the cap on your stored vitality buff is actually going to be 100% of your health pool. So this should actually go all the way up to 7.7 million health. That's how much my HP is right now. It's going to take us some time to get there, but we're still climbing. We're right now at 3.7 mil, so about half our health. But what that means is that when I cast Celestial Brew, this damage that's being stored currently is going to be expelled onto these targets. And if I'm not mistaken, it's gonna apply as a dot to the target, and as I hit them with my spells, it's going to basically expel all of this onto the targets. So as you can see here, with that one use, it did 3.89 million damage. So what this does, and what I really kind of like about it, especially for new Brewmaster players, is this should incentivize you to actually go out of your way and hit Celestial Brew, even if you don't feel like you necessarily need it. This is a common mistake I see a lot of young Brewmasters make, is that they hold on to Celestial Brew because they're waiting for either high stacks of Purified Chi, or they just don't feel like they need to hit Celestial Brew and then they end up falling over and dying. But now, in this case, let's kind of do the opener here. So what I believe the opener will actually be a Chi Burst opener. It looks like I DC'd again. What is going on? I am never going to get to actually make this video. Okay, so I believe I was going to go over the opener really quick. So let's take a look at these training dummies. Now, going into a poll, and I'll also show an example of this, I guess, on stream to show how much damage it can potentially do in keys. But basically, you're going to open with a Chi Burst. You're then going to roll in and, Keg Smash Breath, and then you're going to Weapons of Order, Keg, Rising Sun Kick, Keg, and now we have enough stacks of not only our Weapons of Order, but we also now have at the end of our stored vitality. So we want to make sure we're storing as much as possible, and then we're popping Celestial Brew. So my opener put me in the realm of like 760k. There are tanks that do much burstier damage, but keep in mind that you're going to be doing way more damage as Brewmaster once you have higher stagger. And every time we cast Celestial Brew, we're going to be doing a fair bit of damage. So that would be our opener. And you can always use Chi Burst mid-pull. I'm not, saying you can't. It's just one of those things that you have to be careful since you can't dodge, and that's the primary way Brewmasters mitigates. So I do want to just show you guys what my damage breakdown looks like after a little bit. I'm opting out of Touching Touch of Death because it's just unfair and it's going to skew the damage breakdown. Even though Touch of Death is really strong right now because of the increased health pool that we have. So I'm just hitting Celestial Brew as I see fit. So here we are. We're going again. I'm going to cast Chi Burst once more into an exploding keg window. So pretty much you have a Chi Burst that lines up with a lot of things, so Weapons of Order and Exploding Keg, and then you'll have Chi Burst by itself, and then you'll have Chi Burst and just Exploding Keg, and then you'll have Chi Burst by itself, and then you'll have all your cooldowns back up. So it feels pretty good. I like the playstyle a lot. I've now been, in combat for about a minute and a half now, so I'm going to just roll out, and here's what my damage breakdown actually ends up looking like. Why does this look so low? I casted Chi Burst way more than twice, so I'm not sure why it's saying only casted twice. So at the end of my keys, Aspect of Harmony is doing a significant amount of damage. Now, one last thing I do somewhat want to mention is Black Ox Brew, because originally, when we were looking at this, right when beta came out, Black Ox Brew restored both of your charges. And something I also kind of forgot to mention at the start of this video is Endless Draught from the Hero Talent Tree gives us a second charge. Now, they have fixed this. It now only resets one of your charges, so it feels much, much less powerful. But when you accompany this Hero Talent Tree with a lot of cooldown reduction talents like Light Brewing and Anvil and Stave, you're actually getting to the point where you're able to cast Celestial Brew very frequently, and you have the use to have a little bit more burst and survivability still with Black Ox Brew, though Bob and Weave is fine. So overall, I do really, really like this tree. It can provide a lot of damage. While it isn't as maybe bursty as maybe Shado-pan can be, It does have a lot of sustain, and I've been having a lot of success so far in the little testing I've been able to do this this Father's Day weekend. So anyways, I don't want to like spend too long. I kind of wanted to just talk about my opinions of it and put together like a little something for you guys. I will be doing a review of Shado-pan, but just as like a little heads up spoiler, is Shado-pan was reworked to basically be attack power versus max health. So it feels very weird because you don't need to stress about it anymore. You'll pretty much hit 10 stacks almost with your first keg smash and then blackout kick. So I want to wait until they make some changes to Shado-pan before I give an actual feedback, but maybe if not, I'll just talk about the class and what it can benefit from, or the spec, I should say, the sub spec. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy. Let me know if you like Master of Harmony and if you've been able to test it yourself, and I will be doing a lot of the other tanks as well. All right, that's it. Yeah, cool. Big shout out to my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, I wouldn't be able to make videos like this. So thank you guys so much, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.